situation. Now I'm going to discuss how we would look for a new law. In general, we look for a new law by the following process. First, we guess it. Then we so don't laugh, that's really true.
Hello, welcome to a video, my video, and today we'll be talking about holes, but not just any holes, black holes to be exact. Now this video was meant to come out, I don't know, a month ago, but I've been busy traveling for my 9 to 5 that pays me real money, and now it times perfectly with spooky season. So one could call this our Halloween special. I won't, but someone definitely could. Quick side note, a black hole is a singularity of gravitational pull that warps reality and time alike. They come from dying stars, not all stars, but just immensely giant ones. Not much is known other than surface level details and how they should appear and theoretically behave out in the universe. I didn't want to spend too much time on explaining the science behind black holes, as I'm sure everyone has a broad enough understanding to get through this video. Basically, it's like if God poked a hole in the universe with a pencil and things fall through that hole. What happens after that is anyone's guess. Some say parallel realities, others say Hawking radiation. It's Hawking radiation. What I did want to spend time on is black hole movies. It's because there's so much left unknown about these gravity giants that makes them excellent narrative devices, similar to how sea monsters once found a home in the thoughts and words of sailors. Despite the occasional new life form that gets found here and there, you can kind of predict what will be in the ocean. There's fish, plants, and crushing depths. Sure, we've only explored like 5%, but I can't imagine the other 95% is going to be a direct antithesis to what we've already seen. In short, there are no longer sea monsters, but classified species. Space is different. There's no quantifiable amount of space we've explored, and literally everything in the ocean could be found in space on a far-off distant planet, but not the other way around. With the arrival of the new frontier comes the need for new monsters, and thus,
we begin!
The year is 1997, and Hollywood is going nuts on sci-fi films, with movies like Body Snatchers, Stargate, and Dark City grabbing the attention of watchers everywhere. The masses are eating it up and want something that will really stand out now. A then 36-year-old Lawrence Fishburne sees this trend and wants to get his piece in the sci-fi craze, netting the role of Captain Miller. Sam Neill, known at the time for his role in The Mouth of Madness, released only 3 years earlier in 1994, is eager to find his next Lovecraftian cosmic horror role, and ride that success through Y2K. As such, he would become William Weir. Together, Neill and Fishburne would team up as the acting juggernauts they are to create the movie that would become Event Horizon. We're first given a timeline before any actual camera footage comes about. Our story starts in 2015. A permanent colony is built on Earth's moon. The 90s, when they didn't know any better. In 2032, the first commercial mining operation begins on Mars. In 2040, a deep space vessel, named the Event Horizon, is sent on an exploration mission, however, mysteriously disappears just after passing Neptune. In 2046, the Event Horizon is found orbiting around Neptune, where it first went missing. And in 2047, our story begins, as a ship named the Lewis and Clark is sent out to investigate the recently appeared vessel, and recover the hull if possible along with any survivors. We are quickly introduced to our 7-man crew: Captain Miller, Lieutenant Stark, Pilot Smith, Medical Technician Peters, Engineer Justin, Rescue Tech Cooper, and Dr. DJ. Finally, the 7th and most notable member of the crew, Dr. William Weir, creator and designer of the Event Horizon. We open in the central room of the Lewis and Clark. Dr. William Weir, the designer of the ship, informs the crew of the Lewis and Clark, led by Captain Miller, Lawrence Fishburne, that the Event Horizon was equipped with an experimental gravity drive capable of faster-than-light travel by creating a black hole. Its sudden reappearance in orbit around Neptune triggers a rescue mission, as the ship may hold valuable insights into deep space travel. The tension builds as we, the audience, like the characters, are unsure of what they will find aboard the derelict vessel. As the crew of the Lewis and Clark, including crew members Lieutenant Stark, Jolie Richardson, Medical Technician Peters, Kathleen Quinlan, and Pilot Smith, Sean Pertwee, approach the Event Horizon, a foreboding atmosphere takes hold. There is something deeply unsettling about the ship. The empty corridors, flickering lights, and eerie silence create an almost palpable sense of dread. The audience is thrust into a feeling of fear of the unknown, echoing the anxiety of the crew as they prepare to explore this ghostly ship. Upon boarding, the crew quickly realizes that something went horribly wrong on the Event Horizon. The ship is empty with signs of violence and chaos. Gravity is restored, and the crew discovers dried blood, body parts, and a mysterious gateway in the engineering room, the ship's gravity drive. While exploring the ship, engineer Justin, the youngest of the crew, apparent by his nickname Baby Bear, is taken into the gravity drive that suddenly and inexplicably is activated. The activation of the drive pulls Justin into a black liquid surface while also causing a shockwave that damages the Lewis and Clark's hull, making escape impossible until repairs are completed. Justin is retrieved from the gravity drive portal but in a catatonic state. The crew's medic, Peters, discovers a horrifying video log showing the original crew engaged in violent and sadistic acts. This fragment of the log suggests that the event horizon was overrun by madness before its disappearance. A phrase can be heard by the investigating crew that translates from Latin to "save us." As the crew investigates further, it becomes clear that the event horizon didn't just disappear, it crossed into another dimension, one described by Dr. Weir as pure chaos. The ship's gravity drive opened a portal to a hellish alternate reality, a place beyond human comprehension. The return of the ship to normal space has brought back something malevolent, something that begins to infect the minds of the crew, feeding on their worst fears and regrets. This central theme, fear of the unknown, is masterfully conveyed throughout the film. The idea that humanity's pursuit of knowledge and technological advancement can lead to unforeseen and horrific consequences is ever present. The event horizon, designed as a beacon of progress, instead becomes a symbol of hubris, a cautionary tale about venturing too far into the unknown without understanding the dangers that may lurk there. The strange and terrifying occurrences aboard the ship, phantom voices, hallucinations, and unexplained violence build upon the characters' deep-seated anxieties and challenge their perceptions of reality. Justin, who has been kept in the med bay of the event horizon, shows no signs of recovery or consciousness. Cooper is conducting repairs along with his fellow crew member, Smith, trying to get the Lewis and Clark ready as soon as possible. Regret also plays a significant role in the character arcs, particularly for Captain Miller and Dr. Weir. Miller, a seasoned leader, carries the emotional weight of past decisions, particularly his inability to save a crew member named Corrick, who died under his command in a previous mission. This regret surfaces throughout the film, with the event horizon preying on his guilt, forcing him to confront his inner demons. In one pivotal scene, Miller hallucinates Corrick, who appears to be engulfed in flames, calling out to Miller for help. The hallucination is so vivid that Miller is left shaken, realizing that the ship is using his past against him. This theme of personal regret highlights the psychological horror elements of the film, making it clear that the ship is not just haunted by something external, but is actively manipulating the crew's minds. Dr. Weir's regret, on the other hand, is tied to the loss of his wife, Claire, who committed suicide while he was engrossed in his work on the event horizon back on Earth. As the film progresses, Weir becomes increasingly unhinged, driven by his desire to reconnect with his wife and his obsession with the ship. The event horizon manipulates his grief, warping his perception of reality and leading him to believe that the ship is a gateway to be reunited with her. This culminates in a chilling hallucination where Weir sees Claire alive but with hollow eyes, beckoning him to join her. As the ship continues to twist his mind, Weir begins to view the ship not as a danger, but as a means of escape from his guilt and sorrow. As the movie progresses, the rest of the crew also begins experiencing intense psychological breakdowns. Peters, the medical technician, is haunted by visions of her son, Denny, whom she left behind on Earth. She sees her son suffering from a severe injury which tears at her emotionally. This hallucination leads to her tragic death when, in her delusional state, she falls to her death while chasing her phantom child. The ship uses Peter's maternal guilt against her, highlighting the film's use of deeply personal fears to create tension and horror. Justin momentarily gains consciousness, but still under the possession of the ship ejects himself from an airlock without a spacesuit. Miller is able to save Justin, but not without suffering from near-fatal wounds being outside the ship without a spacesuit. Justin is placed in a hyperbaric stasis chamber to prevent further damage. Pilot Smith, meanwhile, grows increasingly paranoid, convinced that the event horizon is a death trap. His distrust of Weir reaches a peak when he attempts to destroy the ship using explosive charges. Weir, still maintaining some faculties, denies this plan. However, Miller overrides his decision, saying that the explosives must be planted and the event horizon destroyed. Unfortunately, Smith's plan is cut short when he is caught in an explosion during a confrontation with Weir, who has now fully succumbed to the malevolent force. This interaction completely destroys the Lewis and Clark along with killing Smith. As the crew's numbers dwindle, as Medical Officer DJ is straight up murdered by Weir and hung from hooks, Captain Miller faces a decision. With the ship's oxygen systems failing and the malevolent force growing stronger, he resolves to destroy the Event Horizon before it can claim more victims, even at the expense of his own life. Miller, now armed, heads to the bridge of the Event Horizon to meet with Survivor, Lieutenant Stark, letting her know the plan is to blow up the Event Horizon in half and take the side without the gravity drive back to Earth. There, Miller encounters an injured Stark. Weir turns from the command chair, now with clear self-inflicted facial cuts and missing eyes. A fight ensues. Weir, now with Miller's weapon, sees Cooper outside the ship, who survived being blown away after the destruction of the Lewis and Clark by ejecting his oxygen to stabilize himself without gravity. Weir, without eyes, shoots the window, allowing the bridge to depressurize. Weir is launched into the depths of space, presumably killed. Miller, now with a chance for redemption, keeps the doors of the ceiling bridge open to save Stark. Miller tells Stark to get to the medbay and prepare for escape with Justin, who is still in the pod. Cooper inexplicably survives this interaction, and he'll be there too. Miller heads to the gravity drive to set the explosives and finally destroy the evil ship to make his escape. During this trek, Miller encounters the flaming remains of Korik, again, who begins to attack him, physically interacting with him. Miller states to Korik that he can't be here, that he's dead, so who is he? Korik then transforms into Weir, who states the ship has brought him back, and it can do much, much more. Which is weird, because, if it can bring back Weir, why wouldn't they just use Korik? But whatever, Weir's now a dickhead and a personal enemy of the audience. The climax of the film takes place in the engineering room, home of the drive, where Miller and Weir face off in a final confrontation. Weir, who has now mutilated himself further and become a vessel for the evil that inhabits the ship, tries to convince Miller that the ship is their salvation, and that it will take them to a place beyond pain and suffering. Miller, however, refuses to be swayed, recognizing that the Event Horizon is a harbinger of doom. The theme of self-sacrifices emerges as Miller realizes that the only way to stop the ship is to destroy it, even if it means sacrificing himself. In a heroic act, Miller stays behind to manually detonate the explosives he set, ensuring that the ship's gravity drive will be destroyed and that the surviving members of his crew, Lieutenant Stark and Engineer Cooper, Richard T. Jones, will be able to escape along with Justin. Miller's decision is deeply tied to his desire for redemption. By making this sacrifice, he confronts his past mistakes, particularly his guilt over Korik's death, and finds a way to make amends by ensuring the safety of his remaining crew. A brutal and visceral struggle ensues, with Miller ultimately triumphing, but at a great cost. Before being killed by Weir, who now has supernatural strength and abilities, Miller detonates the explosives via switch, killing himself and destroying the drive. The ship's drive core explodes, consuming the majority of the Event Horizon, while the surviving crew escapes in the forward section of the ship. Stark and Cooper enter the empty pods next to Justin and enter a deep sleep. The film ends on an ambiguous note, with Stark and Cooper rescued by a search and rescue team near Earth. In the final moments, Stark experiences a hallucination of Weir, being one of the rescuers, only calming slightly after being pulled back to reality by Cooper, leaving the audience with a chilling sense that the evil of the Event Horizon may not be truly gone. This reinforces the idea that some things, once discovered, cannot be undone, and that the fear of the unknown will always persist. End of movie, but hey, no worries, we've got more. We turn next to Disney, back to when they used to actually make cool stuff rather than movies you're told are supposed to be cool. The Black Hole, released by Disney in 1979, is a unique blend of science fiction and philosophical inquiry, reflecting themes of isolation, obsession, and the consequences of unchecked scientific ambition. The film centers on a crew of space explorers who encounter a derelict ship near the edge of a massive black hole. As they explore the ship, they uncover a dark mystery that puts their lives in peril. Sound familiar? Well, it's not. Be patient. This one has some notable differences that I thought would be worth focusing on. The story begins aboard the spaceship USS Palomino, a research vessel that is returning to Earth after a deep space mission. The crew of the Palomino consists of Captain Dan Holland, played by Robert Forster, the no-nonsense leader of the mission, Lieutenant Charles Pizer, Joseph Bottoms, the ship's younger and eager second-in-command, Dr. Alex Durant, Anthony Perkins, the ship's science officer who is fascinated by space phenomena, Dr. Kate McRae, Yvette Memo, an empath and communications officer with a personal interest in the mission, Harry Booth, Ernest Borgnine, a journalist reporting on the mission, and their robot companion, Vincent, vital information necessary centralized, voiced by Roddy McDowall. As the Palomino travels through deep space, the crew encounters a strange anomaly, a colossal black hole, the most powerful force in the universe, with the derelict ship, the USS Cygnus, hovering at the very edge of its event horizon. Intrigued by the seemingly impossible feat, the Cygnus should have been torn apart by the black hole's immense gravitational pull. The crew decides to investigate. Upon approaching the Cygnus, the Palomino is hit by an energy wave that damages its systems, forcing Captain Holland to dock with the larger vessel. The crew boards the Cygnus, which is eerily quiet, and appears abandoned. The ship's grandeur is immediately apparent, its massive size illuminated by dim, ethereal lighting, creating a haunting atmosphere. There are signs of life, but no crew to be found. As they explore the ship, the crew is greeted by a mysterious humanoid robot named Maximilian, a towering, red, and ominous figure that serves as the enforcer of the Cygnus. Maximilian leads them to the ship's captain, Dr. Hans Reinhardt, who, funny enough, is played by someone named Maximilian Schell, a brilliant but eccentric scientist who has been living alone aboard the ship for decades. Reinhardt reveals that the Cygnus was a research vessel designed to explore the outer reaches of space. However, during a mission to study the black hole, Reinhardt's obsession with the phenomenon led him to remain behind when the rest of his crew was ordered to return to Earth. Over time, Reinhardt claims the crew either abandoned him or died. Now, he is the sole human occupant of the Cygnus, which is maintained by a fleet of humanoid robots he has built. Dr. Durant, the science officer of the Palomino, is fascinated by Reinhardt's work and theories about the black hole. Reinhardt explains that he has spent years studying the black hole and has developed a plan to travel through it, believing it could be a gateway to another dimension or perhaps even godlike knowledge. He insists that the black hole is not the destructive force that everyone believes it to be, but rather a passageway to something greater. See, it's different from Event Horizon. As the crew interacts with Reinhardt, suspicions begin to arise. Vincent, the Palomino's sentient robot, befriends an older, battered robot on the Cygnus named Bob, Biosanitation Battalion, voiced by Slim Pickens. Bob reveals disturbing truths about the fate of the Cygnus's original crew. According to Bob, Reinhardt's humanoid robots are not machines at all, but the lobotomized remains of the human crew. Reinhardt enslaved them, forcing them to serve his obsessive scientific pursuits. This revelation horrifies the crew and confirms their suspicions that Reinhardt is far more dangerous than he appears. Captain Holland and Lieutenant Pizer confront Reinhardt's madness and try to convince Durant of the doctor's deranged nature, but Durant remains captivated by Reinhardt's ambition and genius. Durant expresses admiration for Reinhardt's vision, arguing that the pursuit of knowledge is worth the risk. However, Durant's loyalty is tested when he stumbles upon a humanoid crew member and discovers the truth for himself. He is horrified, but too late to act. Maximilian kills him in a brutal display of violence as he tries to intervene in Reinhardt's plan to take the Cygnus into the black hole. With Durant dead and Reinhardt's intentions fully exposed, the remaining members of the Palomino crew realize that they must escape the Cygnus before Reinhardt completes his suicidal mission. Reinhardt, now completely unhinged, prepares to take the ship through the black hole, convinced that it will lead him to ultimate knowledge and transcendence. As the Cygnus drifts ever closer to the black hole's event horizon, the ship's structural integrity begins to fail. The gravitational forces grow stronger, causing catastrophic damage in a series of intense sequences. The crew battles against the ship's collapsing infrastructure, fighting their way back to the Palomino shuttle. Maximilian, Reinhardt's robotic enforcer, pursues them relentlessly, but he is eventually disabled in a showdown with Vincent, who manages to incapacitate the giant robot. As chaos ensues on the ship, Reinhardt is trapped by falling debris and left to die, screaming for help as the Cygnus is pulled inexorably toward the black hole. His ambition and arrogance have led to his downfall, a tragic reminder of the dangers of unchecked scientific obsession. In a final desperate attempt to escape, the remaining crew members, Holland, Pizer, McCrae, and Vincent, board the Palomino and attempt to flee, but the gravitational pull of the black hole is too strong. They are sucked into the black hole, where the film enters its most surreal and ambiguous phase. The film's cinematic sequence is a visual and philosophical journey through the black hole itself, blending abstract imagery with religious and metaphysical undertones. Reinhardt, trapped inside his dying ship, is shown in a nightmarish vision where he merges with Maximilian, becoming a demonic figure who appears to rule over a hellish landscape. The imagery suggests that Reinhardt's quest for godlike power has led him to a literal hell of his own making, where he is condemned to eternal isolation and torment. Meanwhile, the surviving crew of the Palomino experiences a transcendent passage through the black hole. They are enveloped in a tunnel of light, symbolizing a form of rebirth or transcendence. The final moments of the film show the Palomino crew emerging from the black hole, seemingly intact, as they are drawn toward a mysterious Earth-like planet on the other side. The film leaves their ultimate fate ambiguous, allowing viewers to interpret whether they have found salvation, a new world, or something else entirely. At its core, the black hole explores the dangers of human ambition and the thirst for knowledge at any cost. Reinhardt's obsession with the black hole mirrors the myth of Icarus. His fate serves as a cautionary tale about the limits of human understanding and the potential consequences of defying the natural order of the universe. The film also reflects on the theme of isolation, with Reinhardt's years spent alone aboard the Cygnus, turning him into a figure consumed by his own hubris and madness. His isolation leads to moral decay as he loses any sense of empathy or humanity, reducing his crew to mindless drones. In contrast, the Palomino's crew's loyalty to each other and their commitment to survival serve as a counterpoint to Reinhardt's descent into madness. In addition to its scientific and philosophical themes, the black hole is notable for its groundbreaking visual effects, which were cutting edge for the time. The film's depiction of the black hole itself, a swirling vortex of cosmic energy, remains a striking image, symbolizing both the allure and the terror of the unknown. Now, this next one isn't inherently a black hole movie, but I have theories to connect it all together at the end. And if you're enjoying this video so far, consider liking and subscribing. It helps. Sphere is a 1998 science fiction film based on Michael Crichton's novel of the same name. The plot follows a team of experts including psychologist Dr. Norman Goodman, played by Dustin Hoffman, marine biologist Dr. Beth Halperin, Sharon Stone, mathematician Dr. Harry Adams, Samuel L. Jackson, and astrophysicist Ted Fielding, Liev Schreiber, who are brought together by the US government to investigate a mysterious spacecraft found deep in the ocean floor, in the Pacific Ocean, to be exact. The film begins when the US Navy finds a spacecraft submerged 1,000 feet below the ocean surface. This spacecraft is thought to be alien in nature, but further investigation reveals it's actually a human-made craft that crash-landed centuries ago. The US government assembles a team of specialists to descend to the site of the wreckage and uncover the truth. When they arrive at the underwater habitat near the crash site, the team makes a shocking discovery. The spacecraft is at least 300 years old, yet its technology far exceeds anything known in the present day. This raises questions of how a futuristic, American no less, spacecraft could have traveled back in time. The mystery deepens when the team enters the ship and finds a massive, perfectly preserved metallic alien sphere in the cargo hold. The sphere floats serenely, reflecting its surroundings in a mesmerizing, almost hypnotic manner, yet no one can determine how to access its interior. As the team investigates the sphere, they encounter several oddities. The spacecraft's logs mention strange behavior from the ship's crew before the crash, but no definitive cause is found. Meanwhile, mathematician Harry Adams becomes particularly obsessed with the sphere, speculating that it holds unimaginable alien power. The tension builds as Harry's fascination turns into an obsession, and he eventually decides to approach and enter the sphere. After Harry enters the sphere, bizarre events begin to unfold. Crew members start experiencing hallucinations and strange occurrences. For example, Dr. Beth Halperin sees swarms of jellyfish and begins to suspect that the sphere is influencing their minds. Norman experiences flashbacks and memories that aren't his own. These events aren't just happening in their minds, their thoughts and fears are manifesting in the physical world as well. It soon becomes clear that the sphere is tapping into their subconscious, turning their deepest anxieties and desires into tangible reality. As the crew grapples with this revelation, paranoia sets in. They realize that whoever enters the sphere gains the ability to manifest their thoughts into reality, whether they are aware of it or not. This creates a terrifying scenario where their unfiltered thoughts, fears, and nightmares take form and endanger everyone on board. For another example, Harry manifests a giant squid, an irrational childhood fear he once had. The creature becomes real and attacks the underwater habitat, nearly destroying it. This confirms their suspicion the sphere has the ability to bend the laws of reality, taking their unconscious thoughts and making them real. Tensions mount as the team struggles to control their thoughts, knowing that the smallest slip of their mind could result in disaster. At this point, the crew members become distrustful of each other. Beth becomes convinced that Norman is manifesting his paranoia and fear, while Norman suspects the same of Beth. The boundary between reality and hallucination continues to erode, leading the characters into deeper psychological turmoil. Meanwhile, the habitat system begins failing due to the chaos and pressure from the manifestations, putting the team's lives at risk. As the manifestations become more deadly, the surviving members of the team, Norman, Beth, and Harry, are forced to confront the truth about the sphere. They understand that it grants them the power to alter reality by reflecting their subconscious thoughts, but the power is far too dangerous to control. In a climactic moment, the crew realizes that the only way to prevent further destruction is to use the sphere's power one last time, to erase their own memories of the sphere and everything they've learned. In an emotionally charged scene, Norman, Beth, and Harry agree to forget the sphere's existence entirely. They hold hands and consciously will the erasure of all memories connected to the sphere. This final act ensures that no one will be able to misuse the sphere's immense power, sparing humanity from the threat it possesses. As the trio is rescued and ascends back to the surface, the sphere sinks deeper into the ocean, its fate and the mystery of its true origins left unresolved. The alien sphere in Sphere is a puzzling object with the ability to manipulate consciousness and bend the fabric of reality. These characteristics make it reminiscent of black holes, mysterious astronomical objects that challenge our understanding of space, time, and physics. Here's how the sphere's behavior could be theoretically linked to the black hole. Black holes are known for their extreme gravitational pull, which distorts space and time around them. Inside a black hole's event horizon, the laws of physics break down. Time slows, light is trapped, and matter is crushed into a singularity. Similarly, the sphere in Sphere warps reality not through gravity, but through the minds of the characters. The sphere manipulates the crew's perceptions and thoughts, making it difficult for them to distinguish what's real from what's imagined. Just as black holes distort the physical universe, the sphere distorts the psychological universe, blurring the lines between reality and illusion. At the heart of a black hole lies a singularity, an unknown point where all matter is compressed into infinite density. The sphere in Sphere can be seen as a metaphorical singularity. Its exact purpose and origin remain unknown, yet it has the power to reshape reality based on the minds of those who interact with it. Just as the singularity at the center of a black hole defies explanation, the true nature of the sphere remains an enigma, adding to its overwhelming and incomprehensible power. Black holes are also linked to time dilation, a phenomenon where time slows down near the event horizon. In Sphere, time and perception are similarly distorted. The sphere seems to instantly respond to the crew's thoughts and fears, manifesting them as though the normal flow of time doesn't apply. This suggests that the sphere operates outside the constraints of linear time, much like the time distortion that occurs near a black hole. The rapid manifestation of subconscious fears points to the idea that the sphere is using advanced technology to interact with time, possibly existing in a higher dimensional state where thoughts can immediately influence reality. Black holes are regions of space that seem empty, but they are capable of emitting vast amounts of energy such as through Hawking radiation. In Sphere, the alien object appears to be a passive, inert structure, yet it possesses immense power. The sphere taps into the intangible realm of human thoughts, fears, and ideas, and makes them tangible in the physical world. This mirrors the concept of black holes as seemingly empty voids that actually hold vast amounts of potential energy and influence over the surrounding universe. Sphere is a psychological thriller that explores the dark potential of the human mind when confronted with an object capable of altering reality. The sphere's ability to manifest thoughts and fears into reality closely parallels the theoretical characteristics of black holes, which also warp space, time, and matter. By connecting the sphere to black hole theory, the film suggests that the true danger lies not in the object itself, but in the unknown and uncontrollable forces it represents. Forces that can bend the very fabric of reality and plunge those who encounter them into chaos. In this way, the sphere can be understood as a psychological black hole, one that pulls the characters into the depths of their own subconscious fears, ultimately leading to them to confront the terrifying power of their own minds. So in reality, no, the sphere is not a black hole directly. It just makes for a decent analogical device to compare black holes onto another level rather than the traditional sense we've come to know them as. With that said, I hope you've enjoyed this little something I threw together for you all. Remember to like and subscribe, and with that said, happy Halloween! Peace out.